And welcome back, everyone, to Lantern Corps. Today's Lantern Corps comes to us from Julian Finhorn, who asked Finhorn or Finholm? Uh, Finholm. Julian Finholm, who asked the question, what is Megatron's Lantern Corps? Megatron was actually pretty easy to figure out. Unlike a lot of other ones, Megatron's a character who's he's kind of face value for what you get. It just is due to the fact that what's the best way to put it? He's not really presenting much in terms of complex emotion. It's not like he's a one-note character. He is a complex character, but in terms of the main emotions he expresses throughout the majority of his, career as Megatron, it's pretty much down to two. Let's just get him out of the way right now. He's not a Gold Lantern. I think it's obvious. Shame, I debated. But ultimately, unless you're dealing with when he, near the end, where he did actually finally switch sides and turn back into an Autobot, I don't see him being a Shame Lantern. And even then, I still don't think that really qualifies. He's definitely not a White Lantern. I don't see him being an embodiment of death, really, for being a Black Lantern either. He has been defeated and died, but his spark is still kind of persisted, so I don't know if you can count that as death, really. He's not really a beacon of hope, but he does kind of carry his own type of hope. I don't see that. See, it's very weird. Megatron also does have a straight goal in mind. He's not power hungry in the same vein as, say, Lex Luthor is, who would be a textbook Orange Lantern, who is an Orange Lantern, who actually qualified very much for Orange Lanternhood during the War of Light. But Megatron, I don't think, really works that way. He's not completely devoid of compassion either, although he's very ruthless. So I don't think compassion works. He's not a love lantern. When it really breaks down to is fear, for one. Megatron is very much feared. He's a feared individual. But then beyond that is rage. As this is a man who has felt betrayed, who feels he needs to basically be the ruler for his people, but in a messed up way. Megatron, it comes down simply to that. It comes down to fear, and it comes down to rage. So the question now just comes down to, and I don't, by the way, see him as a Green Lantern, although if I were to do a Bronze Metal Lantern, I think green is probably the most likely, but it's the weakest of the three, no doubt about that. So you're dealing with rage and you're dealing with fear. Between the two, when we're really looking at how he's portrayed, in the old show and all that, I think Red is actually the more likely candidate. Now, the reason I say that is, and it's the one problem with fear, there are plenty of characters, quite frankly, out there who could qualify for fear initially. But the fact is that you have to qualify for fear by being able to instill great fear into people. And while they can do that, and while he can do that to lesser beings, the Autobots, they're not real, especially Optimus, not afraid of him. They recognize him as a threat. They know just how bad of a problem he is, but not afraid of him. So, what would you be without me? Let's find out. My Optimus is pretty good. My Megatron, not so much. Prime Megatron. Until all is one. That's because I can get that nice baritone. Regardless, I would actually see Megatron throughout the majority of his career probably being a Rage Lantern, because that's what he's really doing a lot of times, is raging out. So I would probably say Rage, but this is just my opinion. I admit, Transformers, while I am above average versed in it, I have above average knowledge, it's still not something I am an expert in. So I leave it to someone who is admittedly a Transformers fan to give me their take. Do you agree with the Rage or the Yellow Lantern candidate? Because he'd be a Yellow Lantern immediately after a Rage. I have no doubt about that. Or do you think any of the other ones make for a logical option? I look at the emotional spectrum, and I am surprised we still lack some emotional attributes. Again, I don't think hope is an emotion, but whatever. I also don't count avarice as an emotion. Well, avarice, I guess, can be an emotion. I guess. If envy can be an emotion, I guess avarice can be. But things like will, I've never considered will an emotion. Things like will, I've never considered will an emotion. White and black aren't emotions, but they're different on the spectrum. I also, yeah, a couple of these I'm like a little iffy on. But regardless, I'm still surprised there isn't like a sorrow Lantern Corps. Like you can make the argument maybe ultraviolet qualifies for sorrow because it works towards the negative emotions, but uh, the belief is it actually works towards shame, not sorrow. Like a sorrow or depression, apathy kind of Lantern Corps. I am surprised that that is a nihilist Lantern Corps, like a Lantern Corps that feels nothing. That I am actually very surprised does not exist. A complete and utter, a complete and utter nihilistic core would be very interesting, actually, to see how they would kind of portray that. Because all the lanterns are a little bit different in terms of their power set. I mean, the Green Lantern has the base abilities, and all the other abilities are kind of the same. Like, they are arguably, the Green Lanterns are the strongest, apart from, obviously, the White Lanterns and the Gold Lanterns. But beyond that, the Green Lantern has these standard abilities that you see usually. And then all the other lanterns still have those abilities, but they kind of have subset abilities that technically are better than the Green Lantern, but will is still technically the strongest emotion. It's very odd. Like, fear can manifest your opponent's fears. Rage has, like, the napalm acid. Love, I believe love can negate the effects of a Red Lantern, for example, and can also bypass, I believe, avarice to a certain degree. Compassion can literally use any of the other light spectrum abilities because it's, compassion relation. Avarice can literally steal, the spirits of lanterns and just use that in an evil Corp, and just kind of like steal powers in general. Hope is arguably the strongest, but only with will near it, or a sufficient amount of hope, and it can do just about anything. And it can completely reverse a Red Lantern ring. Then you get all the other stuff that black and white do. Shame, though, is one where I don't remember what Ultraviolet's specialty is. It might be one that doesn't necessarily have specialty, but because it's a parasitic ring and it's like a hive mind, that might be it. But I just went on like a 2-some-odd minute rant about just the lantern rings at that point. Point being, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Have a good rest of the day.